What's up, everybody? GeauxBurns here, and it's time to rank Survival. That's right, the third installment of my survival trilogy. The first week, of course, we did survival tips. Then last week, enhancing survival. Now it's on to ranking survival. And this is just my opinion. You're welcome to share your thoughts below. Feel free and rank them in the comments section, or tell me your favorite survival. Here we go. Number 8, Sawmill, which is all the way up in Blaine County, and you face off against the rednecks as your enemy. And in my opinion, rednecks are used too many times in survival missions. If you go by GTA 5, it should actually be the ballas, but that's just my opinion. Positive points regarding Sawmill: it's a medium survival, which means it's somewhat challenging. It takes about 3 to 4 players in order to beat it. The map is very big, has plenty of spots to hide, lower levels on the ground, and of course upper levels too. But a couple downsides to Sawmill is the okay pickup spread when it comes to weapons and health and armor. And of course the respawn when you die and make it to the next wave. You respawn usually in the creek bed, and that just is a pain in the butt to get out of the creek bed and get to a safe spot before the next wave starts. So that's definitely a problem I have with Sawmill. A couple others is not necessarily the survival itself, but I guess the way it's shunned by fellow players. It comes up the least in quick jobs, and that could be because most players don't like playing Sawmill for whatever rhyme or reason, but unfortunately it does get neglected. But for veteran survivalists looking for more of a challenge, I would highly recommend Sawmill. Number 7, Perro Pier, which was part of the Beach Bum update. The enemy you face is Lost, which is something I like because they're a unique enemy when it comes to survival. A couple positive points about Perro Pier is the medium challenge that it has. It requires 3 to 4 players in order to beat all 10 waves. Another positive is the fact that there's plenty of spots for you to hide, while at the same time, none of the spots are exactly what I would call safe. An additional positive, which is very unique when it comes to this particular survival, which is Perro Pier, is occasionally there are parked vehicles that are spawned that you can actually break into and use for cover, or to block like certain entrances and pathways. So you can add an extra variable with parked vehicles. It does have a couple of downsides to it. Sometimes you can get in a situation where you have a whole bunch of enemies spawn around you, and you can be quickly overwhelmed and killed no matter how well you're hidden or covered. That can be a problem. The boundary for this particular survival is very tight. If you stray too far this way or too far that way, you get a warning. And of course, if you stay out of the boundaries for too long, you will be kicked from the survival. Personally, I think that the map would be a lot better if it was expanded just a little bit more. And of course, another downside is sometimes the enemy can end up in the water, swimming away at great distances, out of reach except for a sniper rifle, and vehicles can be out of range as well and very difficult to destroy. However, I would recommend Perro Pier for the more experienced survivalists out there. Number 6, Maze Bank, which is the newest addition to the survivals. It was part of the business update. The enemy you face is the LSPD, the Los Santos Police Department. And one of the issues I have about the LSPD in the survivals is they could have added SWAT to waves further down, like waves 7 through 10 when it gets harder. I wish they would have done that for this one and another survival we'll talk about coming up in a few minutes. A couple positive aspects regarding Maze Bank is the okay pickup spread. It's decent. It could be better. It's a medium challenge, which means it takes about 3 to 4 players in order to beat it. And it's a decent sized map with various levels that you can hide in and get yourself covered in, lower level and upper levels. While there are some spots to fortify yourself and cover behind, the problem is Rockstar did not add any additional temporary buildings or dumpsters to get in for additional cover. Another downside is the fact that it's a very open survival, which makes it extremely easy for a helicopter to take out players in waves 4, 7, and 10. On the flip side, vehicles are not very aggressive. They're not coming after you. They pull up to certain spots on the map and then they stop instead of coming where the action is. And I think that they should retweak that to make the police vans and the police cars just a little bit more aggressive. While it's great to have Maze Bank added to the list of survivals because it does give us a bit of fresh blood, so to speak, I would recommend Maze Bank for the more experienced survivalists. Number 5 will come as a bit of a shock for a lot of you because some of you may actually have this as number 1, Boneyard. The enemy in Boneyard is rednecks, and it has a couple positive points to it. For one thing, there's a decent pickup spread of weapons, armor, and health. It also has several good spots to hide. However, this is a very easy survival, and it's great for new players, and at least 2 people can beat all 10 waves of Boneyard. And the truth is, 4 players feels very overcrowded in Boneyard, so that's one of the negative aspects about it. Another one is the building roof is out of bounds, and there's several other tight boundary spots as well that could have been expanded for Boneyard to make it a little bit larger. It just doesn't really make sense that you can climb up on the roof and yet at the same time you're not allowed to stay up on the roof, and in some other survivals you are. And another issue that makes Boneyard ranked at number 5 instead of higher is it's a victim of its own popularity, because a lot of people love playing Boneyard because it's so popular, it's so easy, it's still fun, but it's a lot easier compared to the other survivals. And whenever you bring it up in the random jobs and quick jobs, survival Boneyard is usually the one that almost always pops up, and that can be kind of boring after a while. However, I do recommend Boneyard for new players to survival, as well as players that just enjoy playing survival, and of course those of you who like to grind, and get points and get money. Boneyard survival is perfect for that. Number 4, Sandy survival, which of course can be found in Sandy Shores. The enemy you face is rednecks, and it has several positive aspects. For one thing, there are decent spots to hide. It's a fairly forgiving map and plenty of little corners and whatnot. Lower level and upper level as well. Unlike Boneyard, you can actually get on buildings in Sandy survival, so that's another positive aspect. Plus, it's a medium, it's challenging, not too difficult. 2 to 3 players can beat 10 waves. And of course, the open space is not too open, but it's just open enough to give it somewhat of a challenge. A couple downsides to Sandy would be the fact that most of the enemies tend to spawn in the same spot, and of course it can feel overcrowded when there's 4 players involved in Sandy. However, I would recommend Sandy survival for new as well as experienced players. Moving into the top 3 now. In third, we have Industrial. The enemy you face is the Merc group called Group 6. And of course, a couple positive aspects about Industrial is the fact that it's medium level, it's challenging, takes about 3 to 4 players in order to beat all 10 waves, and it has a very decent boundary, a very good sized map. And of course, there's plenty of good spots to get down for cover and to hide in the lower levels, and of course in upper levels as well in Industrial. A couple downsides to Industrial, however, is the somewhat okay pickup spread when it comes to weapons and health and, of course, armor. The other issue that pops up regarding Industrial is the enemy can sometimes tend to take their sweet time getting to you, especially when the other players in your crew or team have been killed and you're the only one that's left. It can take a while to take out the rest of the enemies in the wave, which takes a great deal of patience. But I would recommend Industrial to both new and experienced players, especially new because that's actually the first survival that you get introduced to playing Grand Theft Auto Online. Coming in at second place, it is Railyard. Now, originally, when I first started playing survival, Railyard was not exactly one of my favorite survivals, but as I became more experienced with survivals, I have grown to actually enjoy Railyard quite a lot. The enemy you face is the LSPD, and once again, as I pointed out in Maze Bank, one of the issues I have about this is the fact that you do not face SWAT in Railyard, and I think you should, especially in the harder waves like 7 through 10. They should introduce SWAT into the wave to add an extra level of challenge and difficulty to that particular survival. But there are several good points about Railyard. For one thing, there are decent spots to hide, And of course, it's medium, it's challenging, it needs about 3 to 4 players in order to beat all 10 waves. And of course, it's a decent pickup spread when it comes to weapons, health, and armor. One of the downsides to Railyard is the fact that you can get out of bounds very easily. The map is a little too tight and it should be a little bit wider. I recommend Railyard for basically everybody. The experienced player will enjoy it, and the new player will find it somewhat challenging. And if it's too challenging for you right now, just come back to it later. Go back to playing Boneyard or Industrial or whatever other survival you enjoy. And when you get a little bit more experience and higher rank, then come back and try Railyard again. But overall, it's a very solid survival. And number 1 on my list is Processed. The enemy you face off against in Processed is the Group 6 Mercs. And there are a number of positive things to say about this survival. For one thing, it's fun, yet at the same time, it's challenging enough for 2 really experienced players or 3 to 4 average players. So it can be fun no matter how good or how new you are to survival. Other things, plenty of spots for you to hide and places for you to try out. If there's one place you don't like, there's always some others for you to go and hide in and get cover from. A decent pickup spread of guns and health and armor all over the map. The map itself is a very good size. It's not confining. It's great to run around in. And of course, one other thing I really like about Process is the fact that you really don't know where the enemy is going to spawn. They could be spawning in one spot in one wave, then in a completely different spot in the next wave, and they can end up spotting nearby. So I like the variation that they have in Process. So overall, Process is number 1 on my list because it's fun for everybody. It's fun for new players, it's fun for experienced players to survival, and I just think it has overall the best replayability, bar none, when it comes to survivals. So there you have it. That's my top 8. That's how I rank all 8 survivals. Once again, to reiterate, that's just my point of view. That's my view. That's my opinion. I don't claim it to be the end-all, be-all. And, of course, I welcome your opinion, your thoughts, your rank. How would you do it? What's your favorite? What's your least favorite? Feel free and leave it in the description section below. A few more points I'd like to make before I wrap up. You know, I do enjoy playing all 8 survivals. I enjoy playing Process as much as I enjoy playing Sawmill. So I do enjoy all 8 of them. I just wish we had more. And maybe, sooner or later, we'll get more. Maybe even the ability to create our own survivals down the road. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, Rockstar. Hope you're listening. Well, one thing I will say about this, one issue that I do have with all the survivals is sometimes at the very beginning, and this has probably happened to you as well, you do have this issue where you'll spawn freeze out of bounds. And of course, time will run out and you'll get kicked out and you'll get accused of being a bad sport when it wasn't even your fault. So that is one issue I have with the survivals. It only happens every now and then. Well, to me anyways. And basically, if you're curious as to how I ultimately decided which survival goes where, obviously I had a lot of factors that I mentioned, but the main one was replayability. If I enjoy playing this survival over and over again more than that one. So that's how I basically did it. So feel free and tell me what you think. Do you agree with my ranking? Do you disagree with it? Give me your own perspective, your own point of view. I would love to hear your input as well. So once again, thank you for watching. Feel free and leave your opinions and rankings and favorites, least favorites in the description section below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go back and check out the other 2 installments of my survival trilogy, Survival Tips, and of course, Enhancing Survival. And all my videos can be found on this YouTube channel. And you can always friend me on Xbox Live and Rockstar Social. All that information is in the description section below. And as always, thanks for watching.